So this is the biggie this week, isn't it, peeps?
I wouldn't say it's a biggie. It's a thing that happened this week, though. Yes.
Vex, care to go first? Then are we doing spoilers?
Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Spoilers, everybody. Snow White, everybody.
You,
Spoilers.
as has been said, you cannot spoil something that's already rotten.
True. This movie sucks. I was texting the MMM guys the entire time I was watching it, and everything I sent to them, I was able to find a Homelander meme that matched with what I was saying. This movie was terrible. It was worse than Captain America 4. It suffered from the same issues as Captain America 4. I thought The Little Mermaid was the worst they could do, but there's this. There is legitimately nothing good about this movie. I will say there was something really funny in which they fired all of the dwarves to put CG dwarves in, but then they left one real person midget in there on the cast. So that was kind of entertaining.
Person.
It's a midget. Let's be honest, Price. There's no need to dress it up.
I'll tell you this. I actually know people from that community and I understand that for them it's really important. So I do it if it's so important to people that you don't call them that. You know what? If little people is what works for them, I don't mind saying
they
that.
don't care though, do they?
Words only have power if you give them power.
No, they do actually really care about it because I guess the word started in some kind of circus setting and it had like a negative connotation to it, and that's why like at least most of them the word is considered offensive. So I have no reason to say it. If I see people like that, I'll just say little people. I mean, why would I go out of my way to offend people?
Little people seems belittling.
You know, that's what they like. If that's what they like, what am I going to say? Most of the people that I've ever met from that community, that's what they like.
Anyway, Price, you watched Snow White, yes?
I've seen it. I've seen this movie. Yes, I agree with Vex. Everything except for the semantics. I agree with Vex. The part that was the biggest joke is they first of all auditioned. What a lot of people in the media don't know, but I actually know this even, because of my industry knowledge. They auditioned people that were little people for the roles of those dwarfs initially.
Disney denied it, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. This is not a dude, trust me, bro. I know somebody who auditioned for that. And this isn't something that somebody told me or I read it in, some strange tinfoil thing. Yeah. I can't say any more than that. But I actually know somebody, they auditioned a lot of people. I know somebody who is a little person and, auditioned for that thing. And initially, they gave them the impression that this is a real thing. There were people that did like multiple, had to even film themselves and do multiple things. And at the end, suddenly, they just all kind of, the rug was pulled out from under them. And suddenly, after Peter Dinklage, it was around that time he said what he said. They hired that kind of a diversity barista gang or whatever they call them. And what they did is then they decided on the CGI because of the backlash. But because I guess they didn't want to make it seem like they're also firing all the diverse baristas, they kept them in the movie along with the CGI.
Yes.
So, and in the movie you feel it because they don't know what to do with all these characters, and it seems so awkwardly stitched together that you could tell what a shit show that whole movie is.
So it's because that the famous photograph of the those people on
people
meadow with Snow White, the small people, because we thought they were the dwarfs.
They were the dwarfs. This is they were actually the dwarfs, the ones that we all made fun of, that we said were the new dwarfs. They were the new dwarfs, but because Disney understood how badly that would be received, they decided to bring in the CGI dwarfs and do a year of delay filming it. But then the problem was, what do we do with all these diverse people that we hired? If we fire them now after we already filmed them, there'll be like backlash that we fired diverse people. So their compromise, I guess, even though nobody's admitting it, is that they kept the diversity forest gang along with the CGI dwarfs and tried to do like a mashup of the two together.
Yeah.
And it is so awkward. It is so awkward when you watch the movie. It doesn't work at all.
Hold on, a mashup of what? I'm confused.
Yes. Okay. Basically, here's the mashup. They first of all, okay, they had the real little people. Okay, they didn't take them all. They canceled all their audition and final calls and whatever. They hired the diversity gang. They started filming the diversity gang. People saw the diversity gang, made fun of it. So then they said, okay, we're going to replace them with CGI dwarfs. But then somebody said, but we already have contracts and these diversity gang, they're already here. What do we do with them? Do we just fire them? So then Disney said, no, we can't fire them. Also, especially because people saw those photos. So it'll be like they're not saving face.
Saving
so
face.
they said, why don't we incorporate them into the movie and then have two groups of 7 people, one the CGI dwarfs and 7 diversity gang members, and they're all going to work together. And
so who was the diversity gang members?
The baristas from Starbucks, the hipsters,
the 7 magical homeless people,
the 7,
the prince, the young prince's ground crew, as it were.
I don't think they were his ground crew initially.
Nope.
I think that this was a workaround to try to make.
But they weren't all midgets.
No, that's the point.
Okay. I got you.
They couldn't have small people.
They got rid of the small people. Yes,
right.
Courtesy of Dinklage. Yeah.
Dinklage complained that they had little people in the movie, so they didn't take them, and then they said we'll do a diversity gang. But once people were laughing at the diversity gang, they said we'll do CGI dwarfs, but they didn't want to fire the diversity people that everybody already saw online. So they had to scratch their heads and think, how do we keep them still in the movie so we don't look like assholes, but at the same time bring the actual dwarfs in here?
Yeah.
Well, that explains why his the Robin Hood guy was basically Robin Hood. Why he didn't have like a proper gang, because I was wondering what was going on, because like when he's introduced, he's talking about how there's this group of people in the woods that are trying to fight against tyranny and whatnot.
Yep.
And then we don't see this group at all, except for this one midget who's apparently really good with a bow.
It was a combination of rewrites and saving face.
And weird edits, and as a lot of people have pointed out, they actually, the part that they filmed in the forest looks like some kind of thing that they actually filmed in a real forest.
Yes.
Which was very strange all of a sudden. All of the part where you see the diversity gang, the prince, the CGI dwarves, and Snow White, a ton of reshoots and a ton of stitching together. That's why if you look at it, it doesn't quite make sense. And those are the weakest parts of the movie. It really brings the movie down.
Gotcha. Yeah, sorry, Eggs BD, I am a little bit slow today. I'm a wee bit tired. I'm sorry. I had a point. Someone else go.
Coffee. That's what you need.
I've got tea with me right now because it's too late in the day to have coffee. So
I watched it. I went out my way to watch it. There was about 5 people in the theater. Sorry, 2 families of kids. The kids were bored.
Oh,
the kids were bored in the bootleg copy I watched too. I could feel how bored they were.
I think it got to about 1 hour 30, and I was holding off looking at my watch, and it got to about 1 hour 30, and I had to look at my watch.
There were like a lot of just like logical things that didn't make a lot of sense. Like, so Snow White gets trapped for like 15 years working as a maid for her stepmother or whatever. And it seems that even though like it's easy for this one thief to get in, or she has access to the front gate, nobody in the town that is right in front of this front gate has seen her. No other maids have seen her. No passersby have seen her. And then the queen is like, oh, to the huntsman, take her to her favorite orchard and kill her. But then she dresses her in her best outfit, and somehow all of these years Snow White has had an outfit ready
that's pristine
for this. That's like pristine and everything. Then the huntsman is like, no, I don't want to kill you. So she runs through a jungle, which I actually kind of liked the horror elements in that part of the story of the movie. And then she falls into a swamp down a hole. And as she meets like the dwarves and that deer and Bambi and whatnot, the environmental artists forgot that she was in a swamp, and then from one scene to the next,
Pristine.
she's suddenly in a field and there's no water anywhere, but she's
Pristine.
still dripping.
Ah.
It was very odd.
And what about the costume? Was that wet?
The costume was wet, her hair was wet, but like it was just she was no longer in and she hadn't moved. She was still down sitting on the ground. So like at least if she had walked, that would make sense, but she didn't.
I have a comment at least to why part of this came out so badly. What happens is if you recently watched, and I actually did this, I watched the original Snow White animation.
Oh, good on you.
So basically, there were scenes like that forest thing and the animals that they were actually trying to really take visual cues from that original movie.
I could tell, yeah.
And in the way they put it together, somehow it doesn't work. I don't know, if it's laziness or just reshoots, re-edits, or whatever it is that they did. But part of the reason why in an animated cartoon, you can get away with a lot of things that if you try to make it live action, it'll really not come off the same way. And I think that in the animation, they did it really, really well. Even though it was 1937, they did it much better than these guys did it in 2025.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Brown.
I was going to say, did you notice all the DEI of the extras?
Yes,
it was insane.
It was just like we need 3 black people, 17 Caucasian, 4 Asian, and it was just like that in the extras. Even the main cast had a little bit of. It was just everything was like a perfect.
You know what's
Hollywood.
funny though? I agree with everything you're saying, Brown, but the movie had so many issues that was probably low on my list. Not because it wasn't there, but because there were so many much bigger issues there that, like, almost as an afterthought, like, I made my video review, and when I finished, I'm like, oh, I forgot to mention that they were in a village and they were all very diverse. But it really wasn't the first thing on my list. But I agree with you. It's strange that
first on mine because I spotted it because I'm dumb.
It's like a small village with like 3 people, and all of them are super diverse. Like, where did they come from? I
don't know if you guys noticed in the final confrontation between Snow White and the Queen, because when Snow White comes back to the village, they all follow her, right? And as the shots like switch in between, Snow White and the Queen, I noticed that all of the villagers, when the movie opened, there was a mix of men and women. Suddenly, all of the villagers, after so many years under the Queen, are just women.
Of course they are. I didn't even notice, but I agree with you even before looking. I'm surprised they weren't all women to begin with. Like, I'm surprised that there were even a few men. Maybe they did that because there were the few guards at the end. That
maybe
she's like, I know who you are. You once had potatoes in your garden and people ate them. He's like,
right. There is speaking of the animals though that you did mention, because I did pick up on that because I found it very odd that like for the first like 25 minutes of the movie, Snow White is basically just in a castle setting. She has no interaction with really anyone, let alone like animals. And then suddenly when she's kind of thrust into the forest and whatnot, and she's, dripping wet, she's all friends.
And what about the costume?
Oh, the costume was soaking. Suddenly she's able to communicate with all of these animals. And again, I haven't had a chance to rewatch the 37 original, but I could even just see in the color palette they were going for that they were trying to copy what that film had done, but they didn't do their diligence in kind of helping as an audience understand why she has such a connection to the animals or why the animals even like her. Because like even later on when the witch comes to the house as the old woman, a vulture, and the animals go to warn everyone, but
was she dripping?
No, she wasn't dripping. No, but
she was
somehow
dry,
that somehow that old woman was hotter than Rachel Zegler, which is
yes.
kind of disappointing.
That was Gal Gadot in makeup.
Gal Gadot was fucking terrible. I already knew she was a terrible actress, but good lord, I didn't think it was possible to sink even lower.
I felt bad for her. At least she looks like she, with the tools she had available, it looks like she at least made an effort.
She was hotter than Snow White.
She seemed happy to be there. It's just that you don't believe that she's the queen. You needed somebody, like I said it in my video, like a Cate Blanchett or like an Olivia Colman. You needed somebody that could really look like so mean that you believe that this is like a menacing queen. And Gal Gadot seems to me just kind of like a nice person. That's what she seems like to me, at least. And that comes through in every shot that they filmed her. And she's maybe not the best actress with the best range either. So you just look at her and she just looks happy to be there. And that really isn't what you need from an evil queen.
Blanchett
You know what?
in Thor was great.
I kind of disagree with you, Price, because I think the script was the biggest thing. So no matter who you had in that role, because the motivations of the queen and her being properly established as the antagonist was not done, it didn't matter who you put in that role. It was just more comical because Gal Gadot can't act at all, and seeing her sing was even worse because
I felt
face...
bad for her. I felt bad for her. I don't know why. The one thing is that I'll tell you one thing. When she walks into the room initially and the king is there and he's lonely and she walks into the palace, she looks really good in that shot.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only part that I believed in the whole movie, that the king is like miserable and suddenly she walked in and they're like, and the beautiful woman walked in and I'm like, wow. And like, I understood why the king was into her. Like he was completely charmed. Like Gal Gadot really looked good in those few shots where she entered the palace. So that was probably the best part of the movie.
There's another issue I had with this though. There's no color theory to this whatsoever. I don't know if this was because of the reshoots or it's just the way that it was edited, but I don't know if you guys noticed how bland and awkward every single color palette in the scenes were. Oh wow, killed it. Oh wow. Okay.
Haven't seen it. I can't comment.
Was everything orange or teal? Because that's how all the movies in Hollywood look now.
So, like, for example,
your scene is either orange or teal.
I was too busy looking at my watch.
They did a good job at like getting the colors right on Snow White's actual, like, the classic dress. The design is a different story. But then you look at all the backgrounds, and so some backgrounds are CGI, so it's got like this nice clean filter over it where some of the colors are undersaturated in order to let light shine through better. So you don't get this proper magical feel with it. And then when it comes to some of the live action shots, then like the village is a great example because the village is all just this one monotone blue color to it for most scenes. And they try to dress it up by having the townsfolk in colorful outfits, but then there's no like pattern or logic to it. So like the best example is like that opening dance sequence where they're all singing about fucking pies and communism or whatever. they're just all over the place. Everyone is just wearing a random color because color means kids movies, but there's no organization. So visually it just kind of looks like I'm looking at paint splatters on a wall or on like a blank canvas. Whereas you look at how a Disney movie is usually done, when they have like those animated choreography scenes, there's usually like there's walls and layers of colors they incorporate in order to make the scene more dynamic and to make it hit a lot harder. So I don't know. That's something that consistently bothered me because it also didn't make sense why Snow White had this. She was the one person with a properly colored outfit, and then everyone else just looked like they were wearing like potato sacks. Even like Gal Gadot's character, even though they had all these fake sequins on her and shit like that, I didn't get like that. I didn't get menacing colors from her whatsoever. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like someone who didn't know what they were doing was in charge of so many things that they shouldn't have been in charge of.
Well, the entire company by the sound.
Yeah, I was going to say that's all of
it's
Disney
not just.
now.
Yeah. Did anybody like the? Who remembers RoboCop 2?
Didn't watch it.
I remember it. Yeah.
The mirror person was like Kane out of RoboCop 2.
Oh, interesting. I just thought it looked kind of like it looked like the mirror from
it looked like
Shrek.
very kind of early 90s CGI of faces. Kane, RoboCop 2.
You know what? That didn't actually bother me.
Okay.
I saw the original and it kind of looked sort of like the original. Maybe there was a better way to do it. Again, out of issues I had with the movie, that's on the lower part of the list. I don't disagree with you, but it didn't bother me as much.
Okay, question. At the end, when it's all going, it's all turning to shit for Gal Gadot, and there's a bit of a riot, as it were. the first thing is she wants to do is go straight to the mirror.
Didn't make sense. This is what I mean by them not establishing the antagonist and her motivations properly.
No, there's
like-
also. Sorry, go on.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
I'm saying there's another big issue with the mirror, and this is the biggest issue maybe of the whole movie that really also highlights what Vex just said. Basically, she keeps asking the mirror initially, who's the fairest of them all? And he says, you are. And then suddenly after Snow White gives Jonathan a piece of bread and releases him, he says, well, because Snow White showed that
heart.
kindness, she's now the fairest of them all. But here's the issue. Because they're saying it's not fairest. Like fairest doesn't mean the most beautiful. It means the person who's the most fair. Like her behavior, she behaves fairly. So if that's the case, if the metric was who behaves fairly, why would the queen ever been told that she's the fairest of them all? Because she's obviously a bitch, supposedly. So why would anybody say that she's the fairest of them all? Because she's asking who's the most. Do you get what I'm saying? She's asking the mirror.
I get what you're saying, yeah. Because even at the beginning of the movie, they established that it's that the queen is the prettiest of them all, and then that's kind of followed up with that dumb conversation she has with Snow White in the living room, where it's just like, the people don't want food; they want gems because gems mean something. You know what I mean? And then, yeah, you're right. And then it changes at the end of the movie to just be like, oh, Snow White's an actual fair person, not just beautiful. And it doesn't make sense why she would die.
Right. You can't have it both ways. Either the mirror, what it does is it tells people who the most beautiful one is, or who the most fair person that they behaves fairly. If it behaves fairly, Snow White would have been the quote unquote fair one from day one. If it's beautiful, it would have been the queen. You know what I mean? You can't suddenly change it midstream. You can't suddenly say, well, the mirror was always doing this, but now it feels like doing something differently. And it's not like anybody explained to the audience why the mirror would shift from beauty to she acts very fairly.
Here you go, folks. It's the Phobos. Hello, my friend Wrenched. When you make changes to a story, those changes ripple out through the rest of the narrative and cause problems.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That they do.
All the issues become glaringly obvious the more and more you think about it, and then the reshoots become obvious, the rewrites become obvious, the relationship between Snow White and Robin Hood too, abysmal. Basically, he still kisses her awake, and then as soon as she awakens, she starts singing a song about how she has to lead people and be the person that her father raised. And it's just like, oh, fuck this guy that just saved your life, I guess. It also isn't properly established that a kiss would even wake her up. He just kind of decides to kiss a dead body.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing that I will say, that they kept this from the original movie, and again, this is part of the things where they kept certain elements from the movie, but then a lot of stuff they didn't, and that's why it doesn't work. When Gal Gadot is making the potion to do the apple with the poison, she does look in the book and kind of mumbles that the antidote is a true love's kiss. Yeah. She does say that. So that's like that in the original movie, although in the original movie, I feel like they gave that more of an emphasis. And in this one, it kind of seems like an afterthought, maybe a reshoot, but she does say it. So the prince,
okay.
So they did establish that. But what I'll say is that I agree with you with one thing. The prince, not the prince, Jonathan, the thief, that they replaced the prince with a thief, which is really annoying. Jonathan, the
Robin
thief,
Hood.
sort of, not even.
Yeah.
Riding through the glen.
Cool. Robin Hood was cool. This guy isn't even cool. He's like a moist Robin Hood. In any case, he kisses
Somebody
her.
else who's dripping.
She wakes up, and it's like you said, like she's not like, oh, I love you, you're so great. She wakes up and she's like, I got to lead a revolution to get rid of the queen. And it's like, what? Like, who the fuck are you? Like, what revolution? Like, who are you? Why wouldn't anybody listen to you?
In the last 10 minutes of the film, by the way, the last 10 minutes. So that isn't even given the time to breathe. The other thing about the prince and whatnot, I don't know if you picked up on this
gone.
at all. But, did I cut out?
You did.
I know. I said the prince and all, something like that.
Oh, okay. No, another thing that I noticed with the prince is that he looked alarmingly like her father. Like if you put them next to each other, it was the same person, which was quite disturbing.
I see. And I have a final thing. This is the part.
Welcome to
Incest aside.
incestual. Snow
This
White,
is the part that I
courtesy
want
of
to tell you
Disney.
that I don't know if you noticed that really like emphasizes how poorly reshot and how poorly constructed this movie was. There's a
Mhm.
part that the prince jumps
Oh.
in front of an arrow and he gets
Yes.
hit by an arrow, and
Mhm.
then one of the CGI dwarfs or somebody comes up to the princess and says, "Oh, you really like the prince?" And then she says, "Why would I like him? He only thinks about himself." And I'm like thinking to myself, he just jumped in front of an arrow to save your life.
Yeah.
That is the
Yeah.
weirdest line of dialogue.
Weird.
Totally
Can you hear?
weird.
Because is he zoning out? Is Price zoning out, or is it just me?
I
It's
think it's just you.
Yeah, it must be you.
I think it's
Oh,
you.
okay. Maybe I should go and come back in again or something.
So,
Do that.
So basically,
I'll do
she's
that.
like, "Why? He only thinks of himself." And when I sat there in the theater, I'm like, "This is the worst writing ever." And then the CGI dwarf says, "No, he doesn't just think of himself. He just took an arrow for you." So I'm like thinking to myself, "This is so strange. Like it's a reshoot, and maybe the CGI dwarf is trying to clean it up in some way. I don't know.
I
A lot of things didn't make sense here."
His motivations didn't make sense either, because again, he's introduced as like, oh, I'm trying to like safe keep these people that are trying to escape the queen's tyranny, but then his motivations just change as soon as he sees like the spread between Rachel Zegler's eyes, and he's
The
like, I'm in love now. I can
Rachel's
abandon
spread.
everything. Yes.
Hello, Ian. Are you
So
back?
also that
Mm.
arrow injury, they completely forgot about it after it happened.
Yeah,
and
it
he was
healed
totally
very
fine.
quickly. Did that
Very quickly,
Yeah.
yeah. He just kind of he was back on his feet, and he just like knew.
Yeah. The scene at the end, the Diddy party at the end that everyone is referencing on Twitter and stuff. I was very confused by this. Again, this is another issue with the color theory. If you just put everything in white, it doesn't really tell or say anything, and they're
No.
all dancing really weird on top of that, but it's not quite a wedding. You would think it was a wedding celebration, but it's not a wedding, so I'm trying to
No.
figure out what the
I know what it
point of
was.
that was.
It was a You Go Girl celebration. It was basically they had a picture of her as the queen, and they wanted to like end the movie with she's not getting
like the
married.
Marvels.
Everybody's celebrating that she's the best, and that's the end of the movie.
It felt like the Marvels dance sequence.
The Marvels dance sequence at least had some color to it.
And Brie.
And Brie, yeah. And Brie's got tits at least, because Zegler is
She
not
did.
filling out that dress, by the way. It was like watching a 12-year-old prance around.
God.
Like, it was just a stick. Like, if the wind blew a little bit hard, she would have toppled over.
Brie
I
is looking
didn't-
real good compared to Rachel Zegler.
Real good.
Real
Real
good.
Real good.
Okay.
Like,
So-
it's just, I was hoping that I just want to see some titties sometimes, okay? Like, this is not to be a gooner or pervert, but when I see a character that is meant to be like all encompassing of beauty and whatnot, I don't want to see someone with, you know, a Lord Farquaad haircut and no tits, no ass, just a stick figure,
She can
and
sing,
then
though.
eyes that are so far apart that you could fit the Atlantic Ocean in between them. I want to see a woman.
She can
So
sing,
if they
though.
just put some cup fillers in there. That's all you had to do to make this look a bit better.
Mega Geek's had enough. He's fucked off.
You know
So-
who would have been good, or somebody like her when they did the Enchanted movie with Amy Adams.
Great
Amy-
movie.
Amy,
Yes.
that's a good movie, and Amy Adams
Great
gave
movie.
a fantastic performance. She gave a
Yes.
Snow White style performance. Like if she had black hair instead of the red hair, and she was that age today, and she was suddenly like a Snow White type of character, I would totally believe it. I feel like she was the kind of person that they needed to look for this role. Instead, they're just
Yeah.
like, we'll take Zegler. And I agree with you, Brown. She knows how to sing technically. She can sing the songs.
Mhm.
But aside from that, really not much I can say that's good about her.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because in the back room before you joined, I was saying that exact thing. Is Enchanted was a
Great
blueprint
movie.
for a live action Snow White film. It
I
got
said-
everything right. It did the choreography right. It did shot
Yeah.
composition right. I don't know if you guys noticed how terrible the camera work was during the Queen's first
Yeah.
musical sequence.
Yeah.
The color palette was great. The dialogue was
Yeah.
great. Like, it managed to walk that line of like kind of ridiculous, fantastical cartoon as well as real world. The motivations were adequately established. It's bruh. just what happened.
I said to Ian before it came on, if this had been made in 2008, like Enchanted was, this would have been a winner.
Yeah.
I have no intention of seeing this. None.
It's really
Me
not
either.
worth time. Like it's
Okay.
worth no one's time. Like even just if you wanted to
Shit,
kind of
boy.
have a laugh at it, it's not worth it because there's nothing here. All it is just this weird mishmash of things that you shouldn't be doing to just make a basic film. And somehow Disney blew some insane budget, and this was the product that came out of that.
Disney Blue Snow White.
The way they did Enchanted, also the fact that it's like fantasy world
Great
meets the
movie.
real world. I think that at least like if they wanted something for modern audiences and a little bit of humor, they managed to get that, but they didn't ruin at the heart of it what makes these kind of Disney princesses work. And
Exactly.
that's why the Enchanted movie was so good. But I will also say none of that would have worked without the casting of Amy Adams. I rarely give this kind of compliment. That was a slam dunk
Yeah,
home run
I'll
performance.
agree. Yeah.
You know what?
Performance, really, really good.
You know what else? Amy Adams is a small titty girl, and they still made those melons pop in that movie.
Yeah, she's cute, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's a bit overweight now, isn't she?
She got old.
She
Yeah,
got
and
on,
she had
mate, and
kids.
babies. Yeah.
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 Okay. So price marks out of you do 100, don't you?
Yeah, I do out of 100.
How many puppets out of 100?
I like anything under a 60 for me is a failure. I probably gave this too high of a score. I think I gave it like a 48 or something. Now when I
What
think
the
about it, when we were talking about it, probably should have been like a 30 something, but it is what it is.
Damn. Vex, how many soaps out of 10?
I don't give this soaps. I give this let me think. I give this 1.5 disenfranchised midgets in a dark, cold forest out of
Oh,
10.
little people.
Okay.
This movie was just terrible. Like you don't have like the progressive stuff is not even what kills it. It's everything else.
I agree.
Everything else.
Okay, I'm going to give it out of 10. I'm not one either. I'm going to give it very disappointed. I was very disappointed with this film. You could tell that it was just reshot to hell, to within an inch of its life. Lots of stuff didn't make sense. Should have been a movie that is so important to Disney as Snow White. This should have been masterpiece territory.
You got a raid, by the way.
I know.
Oh.
Hello,
okay.
Slayer Nation. Yes, I know.
They should
I
never
said
have
it on
made
the-
this film. They should.
I'm going to
never
give
have
it
made
5.5 out of 10, everybody.
It didn't deserve to be
5.5?
remade.
It's an in joke.
Oh.
It's an in
It
joke of the channel.
shouldn't have been made.
Ian, you should
Oh.
go see it. You'll enjoy it. Take your
shouldn't-
nieces. They'll love it.
Do you know what? It was a landmark for Disney when the cartoon came out because
Yeah.
it was something that was never done before. But this film,
It's
I haven't
certainly not
seen
been
it.
done before, yes.
it should never have been made. This should never have been made. No reason.
If it was to have been remade, it should have been prioritized to make it.
No, none
No?
of
No?
the
Okay.
cartoons that have been remade.
Oh, okay.
They should be thinking of new stuff. They shouldn't be remaking old stuff. I don't see the point.
Okay.
What's the point?
Shall we?
Because they're creatively bankrupt. That's
bankrupt.
why.
Okay.
Well, somebody else tried to make a Snow White with Lily Collins
did.
and Julia Roberts. They made that one maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I don't know. Somebody made that movie, like not Disney, but a different studio. I've only seen a part of that movie, but that one seemed to honor what Snow White is more than this thing did.
Yeah.
I've got an idea. Price and Mega make a fan version.
They tried that on Daily Wire, didn't they? With Brett Cooper.
Oh yeah, whatever happened
They
to that?
ran into some problems there, but
Yeah.
not because of the movie, but because of
No.
other things, I
Yeah.
guess.
There's a Brett
Yes,
Cooper.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, that's why she jumped ship. Okay, let's sidestep. Okay, so Rotten Tomatoes, 44%,
This is
critics,
bullshit, man. This is
71% population.
Ugh.
They have a
I'm-
strange thing now. Only if you buy a ticket through them or something, you can say. I don't believe it.
What?
I've said this before, and I'm not saying that this is all connected because I want to be very careful here. So this is all like allegedly, But at least
Mhm.
for a long time, the guy that ran Rotten Tomatoes, like the big honcho in charge, was a guy that was like an old top executive, a former top executive at Disney that may or may not be friends with like the likes of Iger. And I feel like so many times strange things happened when there was like a problematic Disney
Allegedly.
release.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time believing anything I see on this site at this point.
So
Okay.
right now, if you actually go look at the ratings, among all critics, it's 43. Top critics, 28%. If you look at verified audience, yeah, the ones where you buy the tickets from them, it's 74%. All audience, 23%.
Exactly. I'm telling you, there's some. I knew there was some fishy shenanigans going on here.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a video on X where somebody was in the cinema and they videoed the screen and then they showed the audience and there was no one in the cinema?
Oh, that
It
was
all
my
empty
theatre.
seats. Empty seats. Nobody was watching it.
Shall we?
Yeah, I mean, like Brown said, I had the same experience pretty much. I mean, mine had a few people in it, but considering how big, I went to a really big theater and there were just a few people there.
Wow.
Yeah, there was. I think in mine there was 2 mummies with kids, and a couple others. No more than 15, including me.
I think it's the parents that drag their kids to the cinema. It's not like the old days where kids was, really excited to see something in the cinema. I don't think kids want to go to cinema.
You know what?
these
I
days.
do. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there, Ian, because there are movies that kids do still get excited for. Sonic was a great example.
Yeah.
Dogman, when that came out a few weeks ago,
Oh, yeah.
there were a lot of kids
I
excited
haven't
about
seen
that.
Dogman. I want to see it though. It looks
Yeah.
funny.
So
Can you
I think
imagine?
it depends, because this didn't have an audience for kids necessarily, because kids don't know what the fuck
Can you
Snow White is
imagine the
anymore.
kids going, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, mummy"? The extras looks the townspeople look so diverse and inclusive. Mummy, mummy, mummy. That's all it was.
I can see myself on screen, mommy.
I'm represented on screen, mommy. Box office Snow White limps to worrisome 43 million domestic opening, 87.3 million globally.
Do you guys have March break in the UK?
Arch break. What's that?
Oh,
No.
okay.
Spring break.
Spring break,
over
yeah.
here in the US.
Yeah, we have
Okay, because over
Spring-
here we've got, like, in North America, there's one weekend in March that's called Spring Break or whatever, and
Yeah.
I'm just wondering why they didn't release this during Spring Break, because it would have done a little bit better. There's
Well,
a
for
lot
some-
of kids
for
that
some
have
it was-
nothing to do.
For some, it was spring break, so it was
Oh.
spring break around here.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
Spring Break was last
No,
week for
no,
us.
daddy, no.
Yeah,
Channel love there, folks. No, daddy, no.
Brilliant.
no, this opening is frankly it's abysmal. I mean, that's not to say this can't go on and make money if it does well going forward, but as far as first weekend domestic, this is worse than the Marvels.
What do we know what the budget was? Was it 200 or 3?
No,
Was it
they're-
200?
confirmed.
They are admitting to a budget of 250.
That's bullshit. It's
Mm.
bullshit.
269. No, 269
They're liars.
is what they're
fucking
admitting
liars.
to. Yeah, it's probably at least another 100 or 150 million on top of that.
So,
This thing cost, along with the marketing and the production, probably close to $500 million.
Yeah.
Same with Captain America: Brave New World. That's movies that they needed to make maybe $1.25 billion at the box office each to break even. They're going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars on each of them, and the press is not going to report any of it. They're going to probably 2 or 3 years from now, they're going to admit that it cost $500 million. That's what happened with Rise of Skywalker, and that's the Disney model.
Yeah, this would have, if even with their budget that they're admitting to, the 269, almost 270 million. Yeah, this would have to break 700-800 million just to quote unquote break even. There's no way it's getting anywhere close to that.
Atom Grey wrenched. Hello, Atom. 400 mil before marketing. I promise
very
you.
likely.
Damn.
Almost might even be 5 before marketing. They basically have shot this whole movie twice. I think. It's bad. But yeah, that opening weekend is a disastrous number for them. That is, like I said, that's actually a worse opening weekend than the Marvels. So
Oh,
yeah. Go ahead.
opening Friday night for Disney's Snow White in IMAX. Only one person bought tickets for tonight. Yeah, the movie's going to flop. That's a big theatre, that is,
Yeah,
to be on your own.
it is.
I've done that.
Yeah,
I do
I've
that
done
all
that
the
as well.
time.
I've been in an IMAX all by myself before.
No, I love it. I actually love being in
Yeah,
there
it's
by
fun.
myself. It's the
I
best
agree.
thing ever.
Is it on your own?
I love it.
It's great
like
going to the movies on your own and having the theater to yourself.
Yep.
It's
I
a lovely
absolutely love that.
experience.
Yep. I saw 2001: A Space Odyssey by myself in an IMAX. That was
Damn.
awesome.
It's wonderful. It's like I feel like a big shot. Like I rented the whole thing to my place.
Yeah.
Like
You
if
are
I
a big
was-
shot, though.
If I was like Elon Musk, I'd rent the place and then just sit there, and watch it myself. That's what big shots do. And like Disney have been setting up so many big shot moments for me in the past. in the past few
XBT,
years.
Wrenched, Worldersport. I did that for the raid. I was the only person in there. It was
Nice.
amazing.
The raid.
Okay. I feel sorry for the theatres. They're trying to make money. They're trying to. My cinema closed down because of such scenarios as this.
I have no sympathy for cinemas whatsoever because the ones over here for 2.5 years were demanding to see your vaccination papers just to go into the
Oh,
theaters. So I
happy
have no
anniversary,
sympathy for
everybody.
cinemas.
Happy anniversary.
So just as a comparison, the opening weekend of The Little Mermaid made 100 million. So this is really, really bad.
Is somebody's head gonna roll with this? Is somebody
No.
gonna get sacked?
No.
No.
Are you
No.
kidding? No.
Because it's
No,
not
I'll-
about the films. It's not
It's
about
not
the
about the
cinemas.
money. It's
about
the
breeding-
message.
Breeding the new
mess
generation of
Of the
kids
message
and making
yes.
sure that this stuff that they want out in the world is normalized.
Yeah.
That's what the end game is. That's what it is.
You
No-
go,
not only
fats.
that. Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
I want to say that they've already laid the groundwork for how they're going to spin this. There's two things that they're going to be doing. One, people didn't like the diverse casting of a Latina woman. That is going to be the first thing they'll say
And the
whenever
mother.
they can. Disney fights for equality, but sometimes the world
Just
doesn't
not
have
ready
play.
yet.
There's bad
Just
people in
not
the
ready
world.
yet.
That's one thing. The other thing they're going to go for is, well, given the Middle East conflict, they're going to play on that stupid thing. Which
Oh,
between you and
God.
me, that's the smallest of. That's the most minor part of their worries. It's not the Middle East conflict that made this movie tank.
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot is not. I mean, you could say that she's not a great actress or whatever you want to say about her, but she is not what single-handedly ruined this production. I think that Rachel Zegler.
Dinklage.
The amount of damage that Rachel Zegler herself did by alienating people, you can't really compare it to anything else that went wrong here. Maybe in second place, the dwarf thing, the dwarf fiasco. Those are the things. The fact that they both have different opinions on the Middle East conflict, that's not what kept people out of the theaters.
They hate each other, don't they? Fat Robert. My mate got vaxxed just to see Dune. Was it June? Damn, that's commitment. Shall we sidestep?
Yeah.
Shall we
Sure.
sidestep?
Just like-
This is in London somewhere. Swindon. I took this morning in Swindon, riding back from my son's boxing lesson. It appears that someone has vandalised the bus stop advert "Boycott and not Snow White" written on it, and also Snow White has been given a devil's pitchfork and tail.
Boycott for what reasons? Out of curiosity.
I think the guy who put this picture up did that.
You
That's what I
think so?
reckon.
Carl
Yeah,
Benjamin.
exactly.
Sargon
And also,
did that.
Swindon's
Yeah.
not in London, so Swindon's outside London. So there you go.
Hmm.
Yeah. Move along.
Well, this is one of the interviews where
God, she looks horrible.
it got tanked. This is the one where she says, I was in a costume for 16 hours a day, and I want as every single penny I'm owed for every single moments people view this movie. So this was the other interview.
Ah, yes.
I deserve to
remember
be
this.
paid every time somebody streams my movie because I stood around in a dress.
Okay, fuck
Okay,
off.
then.
Oh.
Gal Gadot received star on Hollywood.
She
Walk
paid
of-
for it. None of this
Or-
means
or somebody
anything
paid
now.
for it.
Yeah,
yes,
somebody
I'm
paid for
saying
Disney paid for
Yeah,
it. by
Disney
the
probably
way.
paid for it.
none of this means anything now. When you got a star on the walk, then basically it was like they were honoring you, and it was a big thing. Now, if you pay for it, it destroys the whole idea of having a star on the doesn't it?
A quick question though: doesn't this fundamentally go against everything Hollywood stands for? Having a Jew that served in the army get a star on the Walk of Fame when they've been all support Ukraine, help you, or no, support
Yeah.
Palestine, help Palestine,
Well,
give money to
maybe
Palestine.
maybe they thought that they would, level the playing field, because if
Smooth
some
it over
people
a
were
bit,
offended by Zegler
Yeah.
and her remarks, this was a way to show that this is also. I do feel that they were trying to spin in a lot of different directions. I also think that this is the biggest tinfoil hat theory that I can give you, but I really believe it. Disney paid for this thing, and you know how I know it is that Gal Gadot says thank you, Disney, while she's getting the star, and it seems like she's looking at somebody as if there's a representatives that we don't see in the audience, and she's like, thank you, Disney. So I'm like, okay, they set this up for her. Now, outside of this thing where they're giving her the star, there's like maybe there were like 4 or 5 people with like a Palestinian flag. Immediately like a Variety write like an article while this
Watermelon.
event is happening. They're already like, oh, the film continues to stir up controversy. People with like a Palestine, whatever flag came to this thing with the star. They barely had arrived on the scene, and Variety were already writing articles about it.
Yeah,
Now, why do I think that this is important? Because I think that later Bob Iger to his investors will say, listen, sometimes there's like a force majeure. You know, there's a war in the Middle East, and we invested a lot of money in this, and moving forward, we'll approach things differently when it comes to politics. But in this one, we just couldn't get ahead of it. And that's going to try to be an excuse for why the thing didn't work.
Nothing to do with it.
I don't know. When I first saw Gal Gadot, I thought she was quite sexy. Now look at her and I think, nah.
She's not bad. How old is she? Early 40s? She's all right.
I don't know. There's something about her now that I just think, no.
I
Is
think
it
she's quite
perhaps
lovely.
the tiny invisible hat that you're picking up on there? Yeah.
What invisible hat? I don't see any
Can't
hats.
say it. Okay,
Oh,
shall
dear.
we?
I like her, so
I like her too, but she's not much of an actress, but she is lovely.
Kalel.
No.
No, but I will give you one thing, and Vex has said this before, and I tend to agree. I personally like it better when women that have like long hair and look nice with long hair. It's nice if they just let the hair if they start
Flow.
bundling it up in some weird way,
Flow.
it usually doesn't look that good. And I think that Gal Gadot recently, and Vex brought this to my attention, she likes kind of picking up her hair and crumpling it together like in a. I'm not a woman, so I don't know how to explain this.
It's a
Easy
slick
price.
backed hairdo. That's all
I
it
don't
is.
prefer the slick back hairdo. I still think she's pretty, but I think that if she actually lets her hair down, she usually already like looks significantly better.
Yeah, my dad always used to say, the hair is a woman's crown and glory. He always used to say
She
that.
might be losing
got
her
any.
hair.
I haven't got
There
any.
you go.
Maybe that I don't know, but all I know is that when you see the movie and you see her walk into the palace and her hair is down, she looks amazing the way that she walks into the palace, in my opinion, in the movie. There's also something else. I don't know if this is true or not. There was something that she was on one of those late night things, and she said that when she had her 4th baby, she had some kind
What?
of
4? Jesus.
Yeah,
she
4.
recently she had some kind of
Global warming.
medical emergency. It sounded pretty serious the way she described it, although she was like laughing it off, and it
Damn.
had something to do with her head. That like they discovered something, maybe they shaved something. I don't know. I could be wrong on this. Maybe I'm completely bonkers. But there was something about her head, like I don't know if to say an aneurysm. There was something that they discovered.
Shit.
And then
Price, talk slower.
I
Continue.
talk slower.
Yes, please.
Why? What happened?
You just go. You keep going like a train, and it's. I
You're
feel
getting carried
stressed.
away. You're getting carried away.
Sorry, I apologize. I didn't know I was talking slow or fast. In any case, she had some kind of medical emergency, and I think that is what I suspect has something to do with the hair. I don't have any way to prove it.
Okay.
In terms of the hair thing, though, like for women's hormones, especially, like hair loss is a very common concern or issue after childbirth or after pregnancy.
Especially when you're on the Ozempic, which everyone is in Hollywood. Everyone.
Okay. Shall we finish with that? Are we finished?
I hope. I don't know.
Me too.
Are we done?
By the way,
Snow
that
White?
wasn't a dig price. I was just like, oh my god, I'm feeling stressed at how fast he's talking. I need you to
I
slow
didn't
down.
even realize it. I don't know. I'm a strange person. Sometimes I won't say anything for an hour, then I'll say 2 words, then suddenly I'll say a million. So it's kind of unexpected. But I probably don't notice whatever I'm doing. So if I unloaded too much on you, my bad.
You unloaded?
Okay.
In fact. Damn. Damn, must have missed that one. Okay, so have we finished with Snow White? Ultimately, very, very disappointing, yes? Shit, yes. Bear with me, I'm boomerang. Okay. Mega Spider-Man wrenched €5 to all. Do you have a favourite version of Snow White? Mine is probably the original Disney one. Just classic. Anybody?
Yeah, it would have to be the original Disney animation. Not only is it just a beautiful film, it's absolutely it's a piece of film history.
Yeah.
It built the Disney that we have today. Well, it built the Disney we had up until like the 1990s anyway. And then it really established feature animation as a thing. It's a gorgeous film. Even today. So yeah.
The reason why I like
sorry.
it, sorry mate. The reason why I like it so much because it's very innocent and it's very black and white. You got good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just that I think is
No
the
message.
best thing. The best thing about it. That's what
Well,
I think.
and it's it's hilarious because one of the things I've seen with a lot of the reviews that I've seen for this new movie is, well, I'm not the audience. I'm not the intended audience for this. Whatever. That original film, someone can still go back. Someone could watch that as an adult and enjoy that original film. It doesn't have to be made for an audience of children, so that only children can enjoy it. That's such a stupid idea, and I'm so tired of hearing it from people. I'm not the intended audience.
I actually watched the original to prepare for watching the new one, and I really was impressed. I haven't watched it in a long time, and I thought to
Same.
myself, oh, I'll watch it and I'll feel it's really dated. I probably haven't seen it since I was a kid. And then I watched it, and I was so impressed with the art of the drawings and everything. It's so nice compared to the kind of things we see today. It's unbelievable that they made it in 1937, and I was just kind of amazed by it. And it still holds up. I think that it tells the story that it wants to tell in a way that works. You watch the movie, it does whatever it's supposed to do, much better than the new one. With all of their money, with all of their AI, CGI, with all of their technology, with all their billions, they could not recreate the magic of a group of artists from
Pen and
1937.
paper.
I'm not saying that just to sound like clever or be like a wise ass. I am absolutely 100% saying the truth. They couldn't recreate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
My favorite version of Snow White exists on Rule 34. That's all I'm gonna say.
I see.
Oh, nobody got the joke.
No.
You'll get the joke. Okay,
no.
Is it a pano?
God.
She gets her name Snow White from something else.
It's like a Prano film?
Yeah,
Yes.
the Seven Dwarfs have something to do with it.
I see.
I'll say.
I haven't seen that
I haven't
one.
watched the original version since I was a kid, but again, I dressed up as Snow White several years in a row. I remember really enjoying that. So I'm gonna rewatch it though for when I put out my video.
Okay. There was another Flav Wrench Will Spot 5 pounds. Opening day, my own hometown. It had 12 showings and 92 tickets sold by Thursday evening. Odin OBM is predicting a $250 million loss.
They don't care. The
Are
next
they?
film that they're going to be producing will still have the message in there, and it might be even worse than this one.
The message.
What
Be
is their
prepared.
next? What is Disney's next live action adaptation? Do we know?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, the very next one is going to be Stitch, Lilo and Stitch.
That looks
That's
good,
probably-
That
actually.
comes out
Oh,
later
that's
this
all right.
year.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all right.
I've been
Okay.
thinking
What if-
about Bex wearing a Snow White
Really?
outfit, and I kind of like that idea. Just want to put that out there. Go on.
You've got to word things a little bit better, I think, Bryce.
Okay.
What did I say? That wasn't good. I was giving you a compliment.
I was thinking about you earlier this week, Bex. Go silent. Finish this.
But do you know what Disney might do though? They might actually take the live versions they've done of cartoons and make them back into cartoons.
oh, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to
Yeah.
happen. They're going to take the live action, the quote unquote live action Little Mermaid, and then
Yeah.
they're going to make an animated version with
Version
that
of it,
version
yeah.
of the Little
Yeah.
Mermaid. No
That's probably what they're
question.
gonna do. That's probably what they're
Will
doing.
the lead have eyes that are wider past?
They just be on the side of her head like a
Trademark
fish.